My wife auctioned me off as low ambition at a barbecue, so I vanished and let her live with her joke.
Hi, I'm Carlos, 39, and at a backyard barbecue, my wife basically put me up for auction in front of our neighbors and called me a man with no ambition. That was the day my marriage died.
Even if it took me a while to bury it. It was a Saturday.
We'd been married 12 years.
I thought we were solid routine, maybe a bit worn down by life, but stable. I handled the unglamorous parts: mortgage, bills, maintenance, endless little fixes.
Elena handled the social life. Parties, neighbors, appearances. That afternoon, the whole subdivision was in our yard.
Kids running around, music low, beer flowing, smoke from the grill drifting over the lawn. I was where I always was at these things behind the grill, tongs in hand, flipping meat and staying out of the spotlight. I heard her before I saw her. Elena's laugh cut through the noise, a little too loud, a little too sharp.
"Who wants to trade my husband?"
she shouted.
"He comes with no ambition and is low maintenance." Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. I froze with a piece of chicken in mid-air.
The words hit like a punch to the ribs. But I did what you learn to do over years of small humiliations. I swallowed it and kept moving. Smile, joke, pretend it's harmless. Then Patricia spoke. Patricia is our neighbor, divorced, mid-40s, sharp eyes, sharper mind. She raised her beer and said, with a smile, "I'll take him." The yard erupted in laughter again. Elena turned toward her, still smirking, until Patricia added, perfectly serious, "What time should I pick him up?" Elena's smile died on her face. She forced out an awkward little laugh and said,
"Just kidding, obviously," glancing at the guests.
At their reactions, carefully not looking at me. That reaction told me more than the joke, because if it had been only a joke, she would have looked at me, made a face, something.
Instead, she treated me like background furniture that had just been moved without permission. The rest of the barbecue passed in a blur.
I handed out plates, refilled drinks, pretended to listen to small talk.
My hands kept moving, but my head was replaying 12 years on a loop, every comment from her father.
Every sigh when her bill was tight. Every time she compared herself to her richer friends. When it finally went down and people started leaving.
Patricia walked over while I was gathering dirty cups.
She spoke low, so only I could hear. "I'm sorry if that made you uncomfortable," she said. "But for the record, Carlos, if you ever want to talk to someone who actually values you, my door is open." She gave a small, knowing smile, squeezed my arm briefly,
and walked away before I could answer. Her words weren't flirtatious.
They were factual.
That made them land even harder. That night, Elena was humming in the bathroom, taking off her makeup, scrolling her phone while the shower ran.
I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands.
My chest felt heavy, like something inside had finally snapped instead of bending. I'd never checked her phone in 12 years.
I took pride in that. We're not teenagers, I always thought.
We trust each other, but trust and denial look very similar from the inside. When she left the phone on the nightstand to shower, screen lighting up with a new notification. I stared at it for a long minute. I told myself not to touch it, that if I looked, I'd find something I could never unsee. Then I picked it up anyway. I didn't go digging everywhere. I opened her chat with Lucy, her closest friend, the one she tells everything to. The first message I saw from Elena was, "Sometimes I feel like I married a complacent failure."
He's comfortable being small. No ambition, no drive. I deserve more than this mediocre life. My hands went cold. I scrawled more messages. I swear if I meet someone more successful, I won't think twice. I fantasize about fancy dinners, trips, someone who actually does something with his life.
Not just a systems tech stuck in a mid-sized company. That's how she described me to her best friend. Not my husband. Not Carlos. A complacent failure. The joke at the barbecue wasn't a joke. It was the public version of what she'd been saying in private for a long time. I put the phone back exactly where it was, screen down. When she came out of the shower and slid into bed, she kissed my cheek, already distracted by some reel on her feed. "You seem quiet today," she said absently. "Just tired?" I answered, but I wasn't tired. I was awake for the first time in years. The next few days were torture disguised as routine.
Elena acted as if nothing had happened, and I played along, but every laugh, every comment, every half-hearted kiss felt hollow.
I started seeing her clearly for the first time, and the view wasn't flattering.
1 week later, we went to dinner at her parents' house. Something I had always dreaded.
Her father was the kind of man who measured human worth in bank statements.
He never missed a chance to remind me that I could have aimed higher in life. During dinner, he asked, "Still at that little tech company, Carlos?"
His tone made little sound like an insult. "Yes, sir," I replied evenly.
Still there, he turned to Elena. "My friend's son just became a director at a financial firm.
Maybe he could talk to your husband, help him move up." Elena didn't defend me.
She just smiled politely and said, "That might be a good idea." I felt my stomach twist.
It wasn't just the lack of support, it was the quiet agreement in her tone, the acknowledgement that he was right.
When her mother asked about buying a bigger house, Elena sighed dramatically. "Mom, you know that's not in our immediate plans." Her emphasis on our sounded like she was explaining a limitation, not sharing a life.
The drive home was quiet until I finally asked, "Elena, are you happy with me?"
She flinched.
"What kind of question is that?" "I'm asking if I've disappointed you somehow." She stared out the window, avoiding my eyes. "It's not that, Carlos. I just wonder if this is all there is."
"If this is it for us," her words cut deeper than any insult. She wasn't shouting or cruel, just honest in a way that left no oxygen in the car.
The following week, she grew distant, always smiling at her phone, coming home late, brushing off my questions with vague answers.
"Who's that?" I asked one evening when I heard her laughing from the kitchen.
"Just a friend from work," she said too quickly. A few days later, when she was in the shower, I looked again. This time, it wasn't her friend Luca. It was someone named Fernando,
a client from her real estate agency. Handsome, successful, the kind of man her father probably worshipped. The messages were flirtatious, the kind that build a bridge to betrayal one word at a time.
"We should meet to discuss more properties, and maybe other things."
Her reply, "I'd love to, but I have to be discreet. My situation is complicated." That was all I needed to see.
I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to understand who I was dealing with. Over the next few days, I watched her transform: new clothes, extra makeup, perfume at night because clients noticed the little things. She thought she was subtle. But the truth is, people stop hiding only when they think you've stopped watching. One night, over dinner, she dropped the line that confirmed everything. "Carlos," she said quietly, "maybe we should take a break."
"A temporary separation, just to think." I nodded slowly, pretending confusion. "If that's what you need," her face softened, almost relieved.
"It's just temporary," she assured me, but I already knew it wasn't. 2 nights earlier, I had seen Fernando's latest message: "The apartment's ready for us this weekend."
"I'll make sure it's perfect."
And her reply: "Perfect. I'll tell Carlos I'm visiting my sister."
As she talked about space and time to think, I looked at her across the table and realized that she believed she was orchestrating the perfect escape.
But she was wrong.
She wasn't the only one capable of planning.
The next morning, while Elena was still asleep, I took the day off.
She thought I was going to work as usual, kissed me goodbye, and went back to bed.
By the time she woke up, I had already moved half of our savings into a new account in my name. It wasn't revenge. It was insurance. Then I met with a lawyer, quiet, efficient, the kind of man who didn't ask unnecessary questions.
I laid everything out: the apartment deed, the messages, the savings, the potential relocation offer my company had hinted at.
He confirmed what I already suspected. The apartment was solely mine, a gift from my grandmother.
Elena had no claim. I thanked him, feeling a calm I hadn't felt in years. That night, Elena came home glowing. She was already rehearsing her story. "My sister invited me for the weekend," she said. "It'll be good for me to get some rest." I smiled.
"Of course. You deserve it." She blinked, surprised at how easily I agreed.
"You don't mind?"
"Not at all," I said.
"I'll keep busy."
"Maybe catch up on some work." She kissed my cheek, already half checked out. Friday morning, she left early with a suitcase and a lie. "I'll call when I arrive," she said. She didn't. Instead, I received a single text an hour later. "Made it safely. Talk later." That was all I needed. I called Patricia. "Would you like to get a coffee?"
I asked. She hesitated only a moment before agreeing.
We met at a CAF nearby.
I told her everything: Elena's messages, Fernando,
the temporary separation. Patricia listened without interrupting, eyes steady, expression unreadable. When I finished,
she leaned forward slightly and said, Carlos, she never deserved you.
Some women see stability as weakness.
They don't realize it's the rarest kind of strength. Her words didn't sound like comfort. They sounded like truth. I went home afterward and started packing.
2 suitcases, that's all it took to collect the things that actually belonged to me.
Documents, clothes, photos, my grandmother's watch.
The rest I left behind on the dining table. I placed my wedding ring beside a folded note. I found someone who values me without ambition and low maintenance. Good luck with Fernando.
Don't look for me. Before leaving, I made one last call about that offer in Monterey. I told my boss.
If it's still open, I'll take it. He paused. Are you sure?
Last time you said I'm sure, I interrupted.
I can start right away. He laughed. Carlos, I always knew you had potential. You just needed the right motivation. I hung up, packed the suitcases in my car, and drove to the airport. As the plane lifted of that night, I looked out the window at the city lights shrinking beneath me. Somewhere down there, Elena was opening her suitcase at Fernando's apartment.
Thinking she had everything under control. She didn't realize she'd just set me free. Sunday evening, I landed in Monterey and checked into a modest hotel near the new office. My phone buzzed before I'd even unpacked. First a message. Where are you?
Then another. This isn't funny.
Where are your things? Then, answer me. Damn it.
You can't just leave like this. I didn't reply. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat by the window, and watched the city lights.
For the first time in years, silence felt like power.by Monday morning. The tone had shifted.
An email arrived, subject line. Come back immediately. It was an essay of contradictions. She was sorry. She was angry. She was the victim. She was the hero.
She wrote that what happened with Fernando didn't mean anything, that she'd been confused, and that her parents thought I was overreacting. The final line made me laugh out loud. You won't survive without me.
No one would ever value you like I do. Value. That word, coming from her, was almost comedy. I deleted the email and went to work. The following week was chaos in the best way. New responsibilities. New people. A sense of momentum I hadn't felt in years.
I wasn't just doing my job anymore. I was building something.
My boss noticed. You're sharper here, he said. You look lighter. He was right. But Elena wasn't done. She started calling my friends, sending messages to my coworkers, claiming I'd abandoned her and lost my mind. A few people reached out, confused.
I told them the truth in one sentence. She cheated. I left. That was all they needed. Then came the call from Ramen, our old neighbor. Buddy, he said, I think you should know something. Elena's moving stuff out. There's some guy helping her talk younger. Maybe that Fernando guy. They're taking furniture, appliances, everything. I almost laughed.
Let her, I said. As long as she leaves the safe, it's fine. The rest doesn't matter. He promised to keep an eye on it. That night, Patricia texted me.
Elena's furious.
She's telling everyone you ran off with me.
I almost feel sorry for her. Don't, I replied. Let her say what she wants. I am finally free. 3 weeks later, an unknown number appeared on my phone. I ignored it twice before it sent a text. Listen, man.
It's Fernando.
She won't leave me alone. She says it was all a mistake and that she wants you back.
Please talk to her.
I can't take this anymore. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed the only answer that fit. Not my problem.
You found each other, deal with it. I blocked him immediately. That night, alone in my apartment overlooking Monterey skyline, I realized how strange it felt to feel nothing.
No anger, no satisfaction.
Just peace. Elena had mocked me for lacking ambition. The truth was, I'd just been investing it in the wrong person. A month after I left, Elena showed up uninvited at my new office.
My assistant appeared at the door looking nervous.
There's a woman here, she says she's your wife, and it's urgent. I sighed.
Send her in. Elena entered dressed to impress, her perfume arriving before her words. She smiled like nothing had happened.
Carlos, she said softly, walking toward me, arms slightly open. I stepped back before she could touch me. What are you doing here, Elena?
I came to bring you home, she said.
This has gone too far. You overreacted.
Fernando meant nothing. I studied her face, searching for a trace of sincerity.
There was none.
What happened with Fernando isn't the issue, I said quietly.
You never respected me, Elena.
You wanted status, not partnership. You mocked what you didn't understand. That's not true, she snapped.
I love you, Carlos. No, I corrected.
You love the version of me that might have impressed your father. But I'm done auditioning for your approval. Her expression hardened.
And what am I supposed to do now? Just accept that you left me for that slippery neighbor? I didn't leave you for Patricia, I said evenly.
I left you for myself.
And for the record, I filed for divorce last week.
You'll get the papers soon. Her face went pale. You can't be serious a divorce over one stupid joke at a barbecue.
I smiled faintly.
No, for 12 years of contempt disguised as humor. Her voice rose.
Then I'll fight you for everything, the house, the savings, all of it. You can try, I said. The house is in my name. My half of the savings is already moved. Keep the furniture. It suits you. And just so you know, I saved copies of your messages with Fernando. Her mouth tightened. For the first time, she looked afraid. This isn't over. It is, I said simply.
Now please leave. I have work to do. She hesitated, then stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to make the glass tremble. My assistant peeked in a moment later.
Is everything all right, sir?
Perfect, I said. And if that woman returns, tell security she's not to come up again. That evening, I received a call from Patricia. Her voice carried amusement. Elena's telling everyone you ran off with me months ago.
The whole neighborhood's buzzing. Does that bother you? I asked. She laughed. Not in the slightest.
They know who she is. Besides, I'm flattered they think I could steal you away. I smiled for the first time that day.
Next time I'm in town, dinner's on me. Deal, she said. As I hung up, I realized how light my chest felt. The fight was over, and for the first time in more than a decade, I had finally won by walking away.
The divorce process moved faster than I expected.
Once Elena realized she couldn't win, her aggression collapsed into silence. My lawyer handled the filings efficiently.
She signed everything with minimal protest, probably too embarrassed to keep dragging it out.
I didn't even attend the final hearing.
It was over with one signature and a stamp. By then, my work in Monterey was thriving.
I'd built a new branch from the ground up, hired a talented team, and closed 2 major contracts within my first quarter. My boss called late one evening after reviewing the numbers.
Carlos, this is impressive. You've got leadership in you.
You just needed the right environment. That sentence stayed with me. For years, Elena had said I lacked ambition, that I was content being average. Now, without her criticism pressing on me, I was excelling. Maybe ambition doesn't die, it just suffocates when it's mocked long enough.
One Friday night, 6 months after my move, I returned to my old city on a brief business trip. I called Patricia.
She accepted immediately, no hesitation in her voice. We met at a quiet restaurant, no drama, no history in the air, just conversation that flowed easily.
She looked radiant, confident, the opposite of Elena's brittle elegance.
So, she said with a grin, Monterey seems to have treated you well. It's been good to me, I admitted.
A clean start. Patricia sipped her wine. You know, after you left, Elena didn't handle it well.
She tried to act proud, but everyone saw right through her.
Eventually, she moved out of the neighborhood to many whispers, I suppose. I leaned back, surprised by how little the news affected me.
Where is she now? Last I heard, dating some older businessman.
Apparently, she's back to chasing the lifestyle she always wanted. I hope she finds it, I said quietly.
Patricia raised an eyebrow. You mean that? Yes.
Resentment's a waste of time. She studied me for a moment, then smiled.
You've changed, maybe, I said.
Or maybe I just stopped apologizing for who I am. We toasted 2 glasses clinking softly in the dim light.
To bad jokes, she said playfully, and to the freedom they give us. I laughed.
To neighbors with good timing that night. As I walked back to my hotel under the city lights, I realized something simple but profound. What Elena called lack of ambition had never been laziness, it was peace.
And now that I finally had it, I wasn't giving it up again. A year after the barbecue that wrecked my marriage, I barely recognized my own life.
My name was on company projects across the region. My salary had tripled, and I was leading a team that respected me for my competence, not for the car I drove or the image I projected. My days were full but quiet, and my nights no longer ended in arguments or icy silences. Patricia and I kept in touch after that dinner.
Calls turned into visits, visits into weekends together. It was simple and adult, no drama, no pretending.
She didn't need rescuing, and I didn't need proving. She liked who I already was. When she came to Monterey for the first time, She walked into my apartment, looked around, and said,
"This feels like you." That was the highest compliment anyone could have given me. Meanwhile, the divorce papers came back finalized. I read the stamped decree once, folded it, and stored it away in a drawer.
No celebration, no bitterness, just closure through mutual friends. I heard snippets about Elena.
She'd moved in with one of those successful businessmen she used to fantasize about. Expensive car, nice house, the works.
But there was gossip to stories of jealousy, shouting matches, and her walking out of restaurants in tears.
I didn't take any pleasure in it.
I just felt detached, like reading about someone from a life I'd outgrown. At work, I got a message from my boss one morning. Promotion confirmed. Pack your bags. You're heading the Northern Division. I laughed to myself.
Elena used to complain that I never went anywhere. Now, I was going everywhere, and she wasn't even part of the story that weekend. Patricia and I hiked up Chipping Park. The city stretched beneath us, endless and glowing.
She handed me a bottle of water and said, half jokingly, "You know, if your wife hadn't humiliated you at that barbecue, you'd still be flipping steaks in the backyard." I smirked.
She tried to trade me, remember?
Guess she got her wish. Patricia laughed. No, you traded yourself.
Big difference, and she was right.
I hadn't been discarded, I'd been released.
And in that release, I had discovered everything Elena swore I lacked: drive, courage, and the will to rebuild my own life from zero. The wind was strong that day, sweeping up the ridge. I stood there watching the city below and thought, for the first time,
that maybe that humiliating joke was the best thing that ever happened to me. A full year and a half after the barbecue.
I woke up in Monterey on a quiet Sunday morning and realized there wasn't a trace of anger left in me. The memories had dulled to faint outlines, just lessons carved into the past. The promotion became permanent.
I moved into a larger apartment overlooking the city, filled it with simple furniture,
and hung a framed photo from that first Monterey team dinner, the one where my boss said,
"You finally look like a man who knows where he's going." He was right.
I did. Patricia and I were still together, steady and peaceful.
Distance didn't weaken us. It refined what mattered.
When we saw each other, we didn't talk about the past, only about plans, her business expansion, my projects, maybe a trip abroad.
We lived like two people who'd already survived their worst storms.
Every so often, an email or text from a mutual friend mentioned Elena. She'd changed jobs twice, moved again, and was now posting motivational quotes about self-love online. The irony didn't bother me anymore, it just made sense.
Everyone rewrites their story when they can't face the real one.
One evening, as I packed for another business trip, a short message arrived from an unknown number. "You were right."
"I'm sorry."
No name, but I didn't need one. I read it once, deleted it, and went back to folding my shirts. I stepped onto the balcony that night with a cup of coffee. Below, the city shimmered, alive with possibility.
I thought about that barbecue, about the moment she laughed and called me low maintenance. She hadn't been wrong, just incomplete.
Yes, I was low maintenance.
Because I didn't need approval to breathe, validation to move, or status to feel alive.
What I needed was respect, space, freedom, and in losing her, I'd found all three. I smiled, finished my coffee, and closed the balcony door.
Tomorrow, I'd be on a plane again, new city, new project, same peace.
That joke she made a lifetime ago had finally come true.
Someone did trade her husband.
I did.